Welcome back to the TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. I got another video about Andrew Tate and what the hell's going on with him. This is through Michael Franz's eyes. He is a ex-mobster. He used to work with a Italian mob family and used to be a big up in the family. Went to jail, got prosecuted type of thing and everything. So he knows what he's talking about. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time.
So they're investigating this case now for 2 years, yet they haven't charged them yet. Holding them without bail, haven't charged them, been investigating it for 2 years. How does that sound to you? Stinks to me.
Yep. Yeah, I try to find experts and people that are a little bit more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to these types of subjects. And Michael would be one of those people. He lived the life. He knows exactly how laws work really well because he had to fight against them himself.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed, wonderful on this end. As always, we give God all the praise, honor, and glory for that. Andrew Tate, I'm going to give you an update. I've been following this case almost on a daily basis. Whenever there's any news to report, I've been looking for it. Why? I like Andrew. You know, I consider him a friend. We've spoken. We're going to do some things together possibly. He's very busy, so am I. We'd get it together at some point in time. But I've been watching the case thoroughly, and again, I'm going to say this. I believe Andrew is innocent, and so is his brother, until proven guilty. And to this point in time, there isn't even a charge against him at this point. He hasn't been charged with anything. He's being held without bail in a rough situation in a Romanian jail, and there have been no charges filed. As a matter of fact, I saw on YouTube, and I actually saw an interview where one of the alleged victims spoke out in support of Andrew and said that she wasn't a victim. She wasn't being held someplace against her will. She wasn't being kidnapped. She wasn't forced to do the thing.
It's funny because on this particular case, there's psychologists saying that she was been brainwashed to answer this way and things like that. Like this case has so many nuances and so many people trying to like put their inject their things in here. It's so hard to tell what's going on.
Things that they're alleging that Andrew and his brother had her do. So she was one of the victims. And I can tell you this, on social media, you know, I'm watching closely. A lot of people in support of Andrew and his brother are getting very upset because he's being held for this length of time without any charges being filed. And that's wrong. And look, they can make an excuse so they can try to say that he's a flight risk. Where's Andrew and his brother going to go? Andrew is one of the biggest influencers. He's all over social media. So many people know who he is. He's not going to run and hide anywhere. Where's he going to go? Can't hide. You know, if he does, he'd have to hide for the rest of his life. He's not going to do that. So he's not a flight risk. I don't believe that. I believe they're holding him because they're trying to accumulate evidence to build a case. Well, why did they lock him up in the first place? He wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't doing anything wrong. There was nobody screaming in his house or running that he perpetrated a crime on anybody. None of this makes sense, people. And again, whether you like Andrew or not, that's not the issue here.
I can agree with Michael. There's a lot of people that don't like Andrew. I'm a little bit of a fan of Andrew, to tell the truth. I mean, I believe what he said, majority of what he says is 100% correct. The way he goes about it and some other things that he does say, I do not agree with too. But does not mean the man should be thrown in jail without due process. That's ridiculous.
You know, it's not. We don't, you know, arrest people. We don't, you know, hold them without bail, without charging them for something. We don't do that because we don't like somebody. And another thing, you know, they're saying he's a self-proclaimed misogynist. Well, that's not true. He has said he's not a misogynist. Now, maybe some of the things that he said will lead people to believe that he is a misogynist, and that turns off a lot of people. It doesn't affect his thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of supporters. Yeah, millions of supporters.
You can
But
say
some
there's
people
millions.
can say he's misogynistic, but he's not saying that. He said just the opposite. He just has different beliefs. So I want to read something. You know, the judge held him for an extra 30 days until February 27. Just happened recently, and I want to read what the judge's decision was. I want to give you, some of my opinions on what he had to say. Andrew Tate, judge explains extended detention of this dangerous influencer, they called him. Now again, dangerous influencer hasn't been charged with anything, nothing. A judge in Romania has described the particular dangerousness of Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan in terms of their ability to target women. I don't know what that means. Ability to target.
I think any man can target women. I mean, in that broad of a statement, that's a weird ass statement.
Women to do what? What are they saying? He also pointed out to what he called their capacity and effort to exercise permanent psychological control over the victims, including by resorting to constant acts of violence. Now, for the judge to say that, the prosecutor must have presented something to the judge. Well, if they have something that's so definite, why haven't they charged him with it? You see, that's the thing. In America here, you get, held for any length of time, you're going to be charged with something. They can increase or decrease the charges later on. But to justify your being held, they have to charge you with something. He hasn't been charged with anything yet. The prosecutors are telling the judge, this is what this guy is all about. I don't know why the judge isn't saying, well, where are the charges? If he's this dangerous, where are the charges? There aren't any yet. The comments came in a written statement from the main court in Bucharest in which the judge laid out his reasons for extending the brothers' detention last week, as well as safeguarding the investigation by holding them in. You would think if these guys are engaging in such criminal activity, they'd rather leave them out to continue the continual activity.
This is where I agree with Michael for sure. Like, if they were doing such bad things, you create a sting. You create a raid, like, to catch them in the act. Right? That's how it's always been when it comes to, like, this type of criminal activity. Right? They don't just grab Al Capone and just keep him in jail and like, yo, wait until we can find your taxes or something, like that's not how it worked.
While they're investigating them, they're building a case. They don't lock you up first and then try to build a case when you're already in there. If they had done something already, well, it's done. If they have victims of rape and victims of this alleged, criminal behavior, well, why didn't they file charges based upon what they have? Now that the brothers are away, they're not going to find anything more that they're doing now. It doesn't make sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? As well as safeguarding the investigation and ensuring the suspect's presence in any future trial. Again, they're not a flight risk. The detention was justified by the need to manage social tensions and public order around this case.
See, that's the bullshit. That's the bullshit I see. I also went to jail for some murders. And they held us in jail for this particular reason. Because what was going on in social tensions between police and the community and us, they took us to jail for that and created some kind of thing that said they had enough evidence to throw us in jail. So, and then after a week later, they're like, oh yeah, we didn't have enough evidence to get you in jail in the first place at all. And then they released us. So I'll go into detail to this story a lot more when I get to the 10,000 subs, but yeah.
What are the social tensions? I've been watching this closely. Most of the people on social media are in support of him. The overwhelming amount of people are supporting the brothers because they're saying, where are the charges? They're upset about it. And now there's people that I understand weren't really Andrew Tate's followers that are now jumping on board and saying the same thing. Why are you holding these two men? Where are the charges? So the social tensions are coming from the fact that they are in detention. Not that they're on the street, but because they're in detention and there haven't been any charges filed. The Tates are being held in custody for an extra 30 days until the 27th of February, while police investigate allegations of rape and human trafficking. Both deny the charges. You know, are they trying to find new rape victims?
That's what I'm saying. What the fuck?
They haven't taken them to the doctor. I mean, come on. If a rape was committed, you charge somebody with that. You don't have to wait 30 or 60 days. And how long have they been investigating these people already? For a long time. This started in the United States months ago, maybe years ago, if I'm not mistaken. In his explanation, the judge highlighted what he said was the Tates brothers' ability to identify vulnerable victims and to, quote, consider them to be the culprits rather than the traffickers who obtain huge profits from exploiting them. I have a hard time with that, people. The Tates have a very active social media business going. They have some great platforms. They have this war room. They have another platform. They're making a tremendous amount of money the right way by influencing, consulting, and guiding young men and teaching them how to be men. Now, again, maybe some of the things they said might have ruffled some feathers on the wrong side. Obviously, they did. I think that's why they're being held. But that's not a crime. And they don't need this kind of money. It doesn't make sense to me. I said this from the first video that I made about when they first got arrested. None of this makes sense. I know Andrew. He doesn't need this kind of nonsense. It doesn't make sense to me. It also outlined behavior consistent with the lover boy method, whatever that is, often used by traffickers to draw women into the sex industry for profit, saying that all the alleged victims in this case had asked the defendants for attention and affection, which was made conditional on them carrying out activities that would bring the brothers income. This might be controversial, but is it a crime if women are attracted to a guy, and then they do his bidding if the bidding is not illegal? And again, it's just a question.
That one's, I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. If a girl likes you and she still wants to do things for you, and if they're not illegal, I really don't see an issue with that morally. I have no issues with it morally, so I can't think of. Just give me a second here. Yeah, I can't really think of anything morally against, like if I was married to someone and I told them to go work the garden for me because it helps with the family or whatever, and they go work the garden. Something similar to that. Yes, this is scamming and, a little bit more, but someone loves you and they do things for you, even if it's a job or whatever, it's not illegal. I don't see any moral consequences with that.
I don't know. But sometimes women, and sometimes it can go the other way around.
This is true.
Sometimes a guy could fall in love with a woman. Who knows? And maybe they do things as long as it's not.
He's right. I see this happen the other way around, I think a lot more often, because men bending over backwards for women and giving them everything, and then these women telling these men to do everything for them. I see that also, and we don't call that, and we don't have any moral obligations or moral comeuppance when it comes to women doing it. So
Not illegal. Is something wrong with that? I'm only asking the question. That's it. This statement justifying the brothers' continued detention is the clearest indication yet of the evidence prosecutors have presented in the case so far. Evidence? Where is it? Why are they not charged? How many times have I asked this?
Yeah, I call bullshit. Again, I've lived through this myself where they said they had enough evidence. And then all of a sudden, a week later, we don't have enough evidence. I don't really know how the justice system truly works, tell you the truth. Just being on the other side of it really sucks.
They haven't been charged with anything, and so far no evidence has been revealed to anybody. Prosecutors had not fully clarified the facts of the case. The judge's statement said, the prosecutors have not fully clarified the case. Well, why is the judge holding them then?
Yeah.
Why? If the facts aren't clarified and aren't clear, why are you holding these men?
I agree, because when they said they didn't have enough evidence for us because they weren't clear, they released us. So this is bullshit. Now it kind of actually getting me upset. I didn't watch this full thing yet, so.
Makes sense. That statement in itself doesn't make sense. But added that this did not eliminate a reasonable suspicion that the defendants had committed the crimes they were being investigated for, which justified their detention on legal grounds. I don't know what the legality is in Romania. But what the judge is saying, they haven't presented really the evidence or the facts of the case, but there's enough there to be suspicious about it. Well, if you're suspicious about it, does that justify you holding these men without bail so that they can continue, the prosecutors can, to try to build a case? They're trying to build the case. That's exactly what they're doing. I've been down this road before. They're trying to build the case and holding these two men in detention.
Yep.
And I think it's wrong. I'm sorry. I do.
Yeah, it's crazy that I lived through this myself. I literally lived through this myself, that on a very similar how everything is going about things. This is why I was very suspicious about it in the first place. But I also didn't want to say, oh, I'm siding with Andrew. Andrew's the man or anything. I'm not that type of person. I don't side with people. I side with evidence, right? He's a great guy. I might like him. He might do horrible things. I don't know. I'm not going to support that if he's doing horrible things. But from what we can tell so far, there's no real evidence to suggest the horrible things he's been doing.
Andrew Tate and his brother are being held along with two Romanian women. We know that. Investigators allege that in early 2021, the four constituted an organized criminal group set up to recruit, shelter, and transport victims. Okay, that's 2021. So they're investigating this case now for 2 years, yet they haven't charged them yet. Holding them without bail, haven't charged them, been investigating it for 2 years. How does that sound to you? Stinks to me.
Yep.
Let me read it again. Investigators allege that in 2021, the four constituted an organized criminal group set up to recruit, shelter, and transport victims in order to obtain large sums of money by forcing victims to perform pornographic events distributed on websites such as TikTok and OnlyFans. Earlier this week, as the brothers were taken in for computer searches by Romanian organized crime unit, Andrew Tate reiterated his innocence, telling journalists that the case filed against him was completely empty. And I'm very, very sorry, but at this point in time, I have to agree with Andrew because we haven't seen anything.
I agree.
The prosecutor telling the judge, without giving all the facts or the evidence, enough for the judge to make a statement, there is suspicion that a crime has been committed.
You know, when Andrew and his brother talk about being in Romania because they can buy the corruption, I think he's not wrong, but there's also bigger money that can buy your buy, right? I think that's where corruption kind of sucks. When someone that you upset someone that has more money than you, and they can also further corrupt that government against you. I feel like that's definitely possible. What's going on now?
There's not enough facts yet to support that, but there's enough to support the fact of suspicion. Well, why are they being held then? Come on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, again, we don't know how Romanian law fully works. But if their laws are very similar to how our justice system works, Michael is correct. They shouldn't be holding the man if they're not charging the man. You're not allowed to fucking hold someone without charging them with something. Like, what's the reason for holding them?
It stinks at this point. Whether you like Andrew or you don't like Andrew, I'm just going by what we're seeing here now. It's wrong, people. And look, I've said this. Andrew ruffled some feathers out there. You know, he got some people upset with him. And for some reason, the Romanian government, they're out to get him in a bad way. Maybe because he said it was, he moved to Romania because the laws were more lax there. Maybe that rubbed somebody wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's exactly why I just mentioned it. Yeah.
Let me make this very clear. I will eat my words. If charges are filed, evidence comes out to support the charges, these two men go to trial or whatever the legal process is in Romania, and they're found guilty, legitimately guilty, hey, I was wrong. But up until this point, right now, I happen to be right, I believe. There have been no charges filed. The prosecutors have not given enough evidence even to the judge. He said it. All he said is there's enough for suspicion that a crime has been done. We don't hold people based upon a suspicion, not for this length of time, without charging them with something. So, listen, I just hope Andrew gets his day in court, or I hope they come down with something to at least justify holding them. And at the very worst, I hope he gets out of this on February 27th if nothing has been filed to this point. So that's my feeling on it. Some of you jump in. I know I'm going to get some people saying, why are you supporting this guy? I gave you all my reasons, people. You can disagree with me,
I agree with them.
Whatever you feel, whatever your opinion is.
I'm a big fan of Michael.
You do what you got to do. That's it for today, my friends. How do I always leave you? Same way, not going to change. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless you. Yes, I'll see you next time. Thank you.
How's that, Chow? Yeah, I've been following Michael for about a year. I actually met him at a not a UFC match, but like a lower tier. So it's an MMA fight match, but it wasn't as good as high end as a UFC match. And he was a sponsor for the fight, so I was able to meet him there. So he's an awesome man. But I 100% agree with everything that he says because I lived through it. Almost everything that's happening to the Tates now, I kind of lived through myself. Not the whole investigation for 2 years or anything, but the get taken to jail with suspicions of enough evidence to take me to jail, and then they had to release me because there wasn't enough evidence or whatever it was. And it seems exactly how it's going on with this one, but they're not releasing the man, right? And I agree with Michael. I'll eat my words. I like Andrew Tate. To tell the truth, overall, I think the man is pretty good. But if he's found guilty doing these bad things, he's a fucking guilty motherfucker. What do you want me to say? You know, but as evidence shows, and again, this is where I think social media and social justice warriors and all these types of people, like, it's guilty, you know, until it's guilty off the bat and until proven innocence, right? Instead of giving people the benefit of the doubt when people are charged. No, as soon as people get charged, we already assume they are that person or they already did those crimes. Just like how the Johnny Depp stuff went and a couple of all these other things that we have coming up in media nowadays. Men don't usually get the benefit of the doubt. Women do, but men hardly ever do. You know, when these types of accusations or things arise, they'll throw the book at us. And even if it's right or wrong, they do it also to appease the media, appease the community, because that's exactly why it happened with us, because the community had such a backlash of what happened. That's why they took us to jail, saying that they had enough evidence, you know. So it's a whole smorgasbord of ridiculousness. So please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that, and catch you guys next time. It's chow time.